Okay, so now we'll look at multiple box plots. So let's see, click the link, download CSV to download a data set as a CSV file. I've already downloaded it. The CSV is called Multiple Box Plot Data CSV. The data set has student answers to the question, did you complete all your homework? In one column, and the grades they earned on the exam in the other column. So we got the answer to the question, did you complete all your homework, which is either yes or no, I'm assuming. And we also have the grades that they received on the tests that they either did or did not do all the homework for. So I'm going to upload the CSV file to Google Drive. I've done that. And mount the Google Drive and authorize Colab to access it. Done that also. So the next step is to read the CSV file into Python as a data frame. That's where I'm at. So I'm going over to Google Colab where I can type Python code, and the code I'm going to type, well, I'm going to need actually 3 different libraries to do this. I'm going to need the one called pandas. So I'm going to import pandas as PD. So I'm going to need pandas. I'm also going to need one called Seaborn and the other one matplotlib. So we're used to matplotlib. Let me bring that one in. From matplotlib, I want to import pyplot as PLT. So there is importing pyplot as PLT. Then the last thing I need to import is Seaborn. So I'm going to import Seaborn, and I'm going to import it as SNS. So I'm going to give it the nickname SNS for Seaborn. So I've imported pandas as PD. So PD is my alias for pandas. PLT is my alias for pyplot from matplotlib, and SNS is my alias for Seaborn. Those are the 3 libraries I need. Let's start. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set the theme of this thing using Seaborn. So I'm going to do SNS, which is Seaborn, dot set underscore theme. So I'm going to set the theme, and I'm going to set the theme to have a style called white grid. So I'm going to type style is equal to, and I want that style to be equal to, in quotations, white grid. So I've set the style using Seaborn, and now I'm going to create the data frame using pandas. So that's creating a data frame. I'm going to call it DF, and I'm going to use pandas, whose alias is PD, and the method I'm going to use, or the function I'm going to use, is called read underscore CSV. So I'm reading this CSV file, and all I have to feed this function is the file path. So I'm going to put quotations in here, then I'm going to come look for the file so I can get its path. So here I've found the file because I already mounted my Google Drive and all this. And I'm going to come to the 3 vertical dots over here, and I'm going to copy that file path and paste it into the read CSV function. So now that'll create my data frame. If you want to see what the data frame looks like, you can always do df.head, and that'll give you a glimpse of what the data frame looks like. So like it said, there's homework, and they either answered yes or no, and there's the grade that they received on the exam. Right? So those are the variables. Okay. So now that I have the data frame created, I'm going to now use Seaborn once again to create a box plot, and then I'm going to use pyplot to show the box plot. So I'm going to add another code cell, and first I'm going to create the box plot. I'm going to call it AX, and Seaborn is what I'm going to call SNS dot boxplot. So the specific method in Seaborn is called boxplot, and the parameters that boxplot takes, first I have to tell it where the data is coming from, and the data is coming from the data frame that I call DF. So that's first. Then I need to tell it what variables I'm going to use from that data frame. So I'm going to let, oh, by the way, these multiple box plot actually allows you to graph a box plot of a numerical value separated into categories based on a categorical value. So X is going to be the numerical value that I actually want to create the box plots for, and since grade is the numerical value, grade has to be X. So X is equal to the variable called grade. So grade is the variable X, and then the other one is the categorical variable Y, and Y has to be the categorical variable up there, which is homework. So those are the two variables. X has to be the numerical one, Y has to be the categorical one. And then the last thing is I'm going to set the colors in the box plot, or actually, yeah, I'm going to set the colors in the box plot with hue. And I'm going to let the hue be determined by the, whether they did their homework or not, by the categorical value. All right, so the last thing we need to do then, we have everything set up. The last thing we would need to do is to use PyPlot to actually show the plot. So I'm going to do PLT, which is PyPlot dot show, and that's going to show the plot. So once I run this, it should give me the multiple box plot. And there it is. So from this, we see a couple things here. First of all, the orange looking one are the people who did not do all of their homework, and the blue one is the people who did all of their homework. You'll notice here that there are two outliers for the people who didn't do their homework, a very, very low score for someone that didn't do their homework, and a very high score for someone that didn't do their homework. But more than half of these people failed the test. As you can see, this is where the third quartile would be, and that means that more than 75% of these people got a grade lower than what, let's say 50, or let's say call it 55. But what you should notice here is that the people who did their homework, their distribution is very tight. It only goes from about 70 to 90 something. So you can see that's a very tight distribution, and none of those people that did all the homework actually failed. So these two are definitely not from the same distribution or knowledge base. And that's how we would use these multiple box plots.